nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and you can see that. Thank you all for sending your dues. We actually have a flag larger than what waves on a stick. We're making progress. Due to the late start, I don't know that we have any elected officials here today or candidates.
One there.
Peggy Upiano, would any of you like to take a moment and speak? You can come forward.
That would be amazing, thank you. I wasn't sure where in the lineup I might come in.
Yes, state your name.
Awesome. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Tasha Dexter Thompson, and I am running for the House of Representatives against Alicia Rule this year. And, so I'll keep this short and sweet since I know that we're running a little low on time. I'm a former law enforcement officer. I was a Bellingham police officer for almost 25 years. And so, thank you. I'm married to a deputy, so one of the Whatcom County deputies that was shot in the line of duty 4 weeks ago, and so he is doing really good. We're both optimistic about that. So I want to thank everybody for their overwhelming support and love. It has been awe-inspiring, it's been humbling, and it's been an amazing reminder to us both how much our community loves and supports law enforcement. It has been, you know, with everything that was going on, and probably the primary reason why I'm standing up here and putting myself out here and wanting to be a voice for people in Whatcom County to make everybody safer is because the vitriol message being sent to our law enforcement has been horrible. They have really handcuffed what we can do, and it has made everybody less safe. Last year I was advocating to Sharon and to Alicia all the things that would go wrong if these laws passed, and they passed, and everything did go wrong, just as I knew that it would, because it takes a deep understanding of what we do, and that is why I'm going to go down to Olympia, and I'm going to make a difference there, because they didn't listen to us last year because they didn't have to. They could close the door in our faces and they didn't have to. But if I'm in the room, I can make them listen to me. And that's what needs to happen, and that's why I'm running. So I would love your support. Obviously, I'm just getting us started. I do have some remit envelopes. If you're so willing to donate, I'll leave some here. That would be amazing. I'm going to be trying to come to as many events like this. I need to meet everybody in the community because I think that I can't be a voice for you if I haven't listened to you. So any opportunities on these envelopes, even if is my website and an email, if you could email me, I'd love to have coffee with people. I want to really just sit down and get to know everybody in my community, other than in the law enforcement capacity that I did it forever. And so I would love to have the opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you.
Tasha. I'll give you one of my envelopes.
Sent them two samples.
And our other elected official, we have an elected official, Peggy Upiano, who is a director on the school board for Ferndale School District. Just a word or two.
I just wanted to update you. We're in the middle of our superintendent search out in Ferndale, and so in the upcoming weeks, we'll be going through the public process for meeting the candidates. March 21st, 23rd, and 24th are going to be the final interviews. So just wanted to give you a heads up on what's going on with Ferndale School Board. Also, a couple of bills that passed in Olympia, 1664, which is the prototypical school model, which would require additional counselors in schools, and 1590, the budget stabilization bill, which unfortunately funds schools even though their enrollment drops. It pays for empty seats, which unfortunately that passed, but
That's the
news.
That's the news.
It is.
Thank you.
Good job.
Bad news that it is. Charlie Crabtree, you wanted to speak for just a moment as well?
Okay. First, let me expand a little bit on Peggy's. So this seat right here in a school district, this seat with this person in it will get approximately $17,500 for the year. And they are short almost 100,000 students that will get that $17,000 a year. to be supported by the state legislature. What I came up here for and lost it is our friendly local representative Sharon Shoemake posted on Facebook, and I'm just going to read it real fast. Last day before cutoff, and I learned that SB 5909 Emergency Powers Reform will not be coming to a floor vote. It's been 2 years in an emergency, and time to reevaluate how long an emergency can last. We tried to run 5909 yesterday, but House Republicans wanted every Republican to speak on every single amendment. This kills time, which means we can't pass other Senate bills. I was hoping a deal could be worked out today, but I learned that the Republicans refused. So we're going to stay under the governor's hard, wonderful little hand because it's the Republicans' fault. They have an 8-person, 16-person majority in the House, and they could not listen to a single amendment. So this foolish little newsletter, The Fourth Corner, I said I must ask, so the majority party does not want the opposition to speak on a bill because it will take up too much time, right? Republicans don't, she says, Republicans don't have the votes to pass things without D votes, but they do have the ability to slow down and take up floor time.
That's horrible.
Isn't that wonderful? That's just our representative for the 42nd district, just so you know. There'll be some deeper and more detail in tomorrow's Fourth Corner, just a little push there.
Thanks for the update, Charlie. Much appreciated. If no other members have any information to share or announcements to make, let me introduce our special guest speaker who has traveled from Vancouver, Washington area. Jennifer Heine, and I will say Heine Withee, but that's not the way you pronounce it, is
Yes,
it?
it is.
Yeah, Heine Withee?
Heine Withee.
Excellent. Who's here you're the director of the National Organization Parents' Rights in Education.
The state.
The state.
Chapter.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm going to hand you the mic.
Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you for having me. I am the director of the Washington chapter of Parents' Rights in Education. We're a national group. The Washington chapter, we're the first chapter outside of the state of Oregon, and we're very proud of that. Parents' Rights in Education has been around for around 20 years. And they started out as just a grassroots organization in Oregon. A few years ago, they got a new director who she has rebuilt the organization and has been very dynamic in merchandising or spreading the word about the organization. 3 years ago, down in Battleground, Washington, our school district tried to implement a comprehensive sexual education curriculum into the high school. And this is not your sex ed that most people had when they were in school. Comprehensive sexual education pushes gender identity, sexuality, advocacy, and when I saw it, I was pretty much appalled that my kids' school was going to be teaching them this. I was able to get a hold of some people on social media, which if you're ever going to post stuff like this on social media, be prepared. But we got together and rallied the community, and at the school board meeting where they were going to do the final vote on this curriculum, we had over 200 people show up and tell the board no. We were able to hold it off for a year and a half until Olympia decided that they were going to pass a mandate statewide. And then our school district decided to push it through against against opposition, overwhelming opposition in our area. That was the birth of Washington Parents' Rights in Education. We worked on Referendum 90 to help get that on the ballot. That did pass. We worked very hard to get it rejected. That would have gotten rid of the comprehensive sexual education mandate. Unfortunately, it did go through. And a lot of this is because of the politics in our state, unfortunately. So we have expanded out looking at not just comprehensive sexual education, but also critical race theory in our schools. One good thing about our state being locked down and our students being sent home to do their schooling virtually on their computer is it exposed the schools. And for the first time en masse, parents were actually in the classrooms seeing what their kids were being taught. And needless to say, parents were appalled. I have had parents come to me and tell me about their child's teacher handing out the wheel of privilege so a child can figure out where they are on that wheel of privilege, of books being assigned in class that promote critical race theory, books in the school library that promote critical race theory. And when parents go to the school boards and complain about this, some of the school boards are sympathetic, a lot of school boards are not. And that is because this is being pushed by our superintendent of public instruction, who is Chris Reichdahl. So when I talk about the OSPI, that's the Office of the Superintendent of Public Instruction. That's Chris Reichdahl. And after the incident with George Floyd, he started pushing this heavily. Pushing it in the district office, pushing it down to the school districts. Last year, we did in this state pass a law mandating that all educators, school board members, anybody really who works for a school district is mandated to take training in critical race theory. And they will call it by a lot of different names. They will call it diversity, equity, and inclusion, cultural competency. Now they're calling it cultural responsive training or culturally responsive teaching, all sorts of different names. It means the same thing. It means critical race theory. They will say, no, 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 we're not teaching kids that one set of kids are oppressed and another set of kids are oppressors. We're not teaching that. What they are doing, and I saw a video from, I believe it's the Evergreen School District down south, and they have an Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And they've got a video there describing this culturally responsive teaching. And the video they showed was in a high school class. They were watching a video about migrant workers and the plight of migrant workers and hardships that they go through. And, you know, the migrant workers, a vast majority of them are from South America or Mexico. Well, the class of kids were diverse, and there were some Hispanic kids in the class. One of the gals, she was talking about the video, and she said, these people are just like me. I'm just like them. I could have been one of these individuals. And then the teacher was talking, and she said, what we want to do is to get the children to identify
with their education, with the subject matter, with what is being taught. So they see themselves within the lesson. And if I can get them to see themselves within the lesson, then I've got them. Well, what's the result of this? This Hispanic girl sees herself as one of these migrant workers, whether she is or not, and then she goes out and starts advocating for the plight of Hispanic people in our country. Because part of this is also teaching kids advocacy, how to be advocates, how to go out and make their community better. Well, then she's turning to the person who's sitting next to her, who might be white, and she's seeing them as the landowner in this video that she just watched. So they're not just showing kids, here's a video about migrant workers and let's talk about this. No, it's how do you relate to these migrant workers? And now how can we go out into our community and advocate for the plight of migrant workers? Or people of color, whatever their color. How can we advocate whether there's a problem or not? Now this young girl, she had never been a migrant worker. I'm assuming she probably lived in a middle-class home. Or who knows what her parents did for a living. But that didn't matter. The point was that the teacher wanted to get her to relate so much to the migrant workers in this video that she sees herself as one of them. That's the result of critical race theory, of all of this type of teaching.
Teaching young people to become victims.
Yes.
You want to say it in
Yeah.
English?
Yeah.
Or teaching them to be victims.
And that was the result of this video. This gal related to the individuals in this video. They were victims, and she saw herself as a victim because they're just like me, I'm just like them.